Touchdown Tampa Bay. You're listening to the PewterCast.
Welcome to the PewterCast. I am Brent Allen, your host, and with me, as always, is a man who is taking his favorite game, PUBG, and bringing it into the real world, trying to shoot people off the top of buildings. Ren Daxt. Ren, how's it going, my friend?
It's going great. Thanks for asking. I was not trying to shoot people. I was just merely saying that there was a cameraman on top of One Buc Place with a stationary camera. And from my vantage point, he looked like a guy on the ridge northeast, 15 degrees. Stay frosty.
One Buc Place, Ren. What were you doing at One Buc Place today?
Well, it was first day of minicamp for suite members, partners, and club members.
Yeah. They invited a select group of ticket holders, depending on what level you were. And
Correct.
Yeah.
And since your wife didn't want to go, I got to go instead.
It's true.
I was +1.
You were not my date. I'm not going to go there.
I was +1.
Not going to go there.
+1.
Yes, so we did get to... Today was the first day of mandatory minicamp. This is just a 3-day little period.
Yeah.
Right before we enter the long, dark night of football.
Right.
Where nothing happens.
Got
and
a
it's
month
not
of
allowed
nothing.
to. But, so we got to be there today, and it was a lot of fun, actually. And so I think that's kind of what we're going to go into. We've had a couple weeks that we've heard about OTAs, certainly as fans, just kind of getting to hear secondhand through the media.
Yeah, we got to see it up close.
And today we got to be there.
Plus, we got to see what as of now, the starting lineups sort of look.
Right.
Because, a lot, like JPP wasn't there for OTAs at all. He was here for minicamp. I believe I tweeted that picture out first. Then
No,
what?
you did not. No,
I did.
No.
First fan, too.
First
non-media member who got there at the butt crack of dawn just to throw it in my face.
At the butt crack of noon, I believe, is when you showed up.
No, I wasn't there. I didn't get there till about 12:15. It was a terrible rainstorm. Well, they wouldn't even let me in anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Plus, someone didn't email me the ticket, so I couldn't have gone in anyway. I had to wait. Not mentioning any names, but I was there first between the two of us. The +1 showed up early. So JPP was there. Brent Grimes was there. He wasn't there for all the OTAs. Deshaun Jackson was there. So it was the first time you got all 90 guys there and got to take a look at, hey, what's the defensive line going to look like? Right. Hey, what's the starting cornerback? That
was an interesting thing to look up and see, by the way.
Yeah, and also nickel. So they started the practice with their exercises and all that kind of stuff. Well, but the first drill they ran a 1-minute drill.
Yeah. Offense
versus defense, 11 on 11s. So it was 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back set for the offense. Charles Sims was a running back.
Charles Sims was, yeah.
Cam Brate was the tight end, and of course I didn't really notice, to be honest. It was Evans, Hump, and Jackson, or was it Evans, Godwin? I think Godwin was out there.
I'll be honest. At that point, I was still kind of taking everything in, and I wasn't watching who's where at what specific time. I wasn't there yet.
I was really looking at the defensive line and what was going on in the cornerbacks, and since it was a 1-minute drill, I found interesting. They had Jason Pierre-Paul, first day at camp. He was on the field.
He was the starter. Yeah.
Had Curry on the. I'm sorry,
Ren. The correct term is he was taking reps with the ones.
Yes.
Taking reps with the ones.
We have 90 starters on this team until we cut down to 53.
Right. And out of that, only 22 will actually start.
Yeah, it's true. Do you count kickers and punters as starters?
Literally, a kicker is the first person to touch a ball in the game. You kind of have to count them as a starter.
So 24 then. Just saying. Anyway, Curry, Jason Pierre-Paul, and the defensive tackles for this 1-minute drill was McCoy, and they bumped Golston inside.
I saw that. That was interesting.
Yeah. So no Bo Allen out there, but Bo Allen did come out when it was sort of like non-1-minute frantic defense. It would just replaced Bo Allen with Will Golston, and that was your starting defensive line. But since the Bucs came out 3 wide, the defense came out in nickel, which had Grimes in his regular spot, And then, as they had pretty much promised and talked about, VH3, Vernon, was in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And the second rookie, cornerback drafted, Carlton Davis III, was outside. And he was playing press man while Grimes on the other side was playing off.
Right.
So it was fun I don't know if it was fun, but it was nice. It was kind of like a relief because, remember, at the beginning of OTAs, like they kept, the word was, they keep having Davis play off, early in OTAs, and it's just like why did we draft this guy if he played press man at Auburn for 3 straight years?
Right.
But, so we finally, got some concrete evidence about sort of, kind of, blah.
At least what they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. In a perfect world.
Yeah. Like if the season were to start tomorrow, this is probably what we'd see.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was at safety?
Evans and Conti.
Yeah.
Evans and Conti. Linebackers were, of course, David and Quan. Levante, David, and Quan. So, so they started with that.
This guy Taylor was running around out there.
I don't
know who that guy is.
Who's this Taylor guy? Why does he have a Darius Blanton's number?
You know what made it even worse was, so the defense was wearing red jerseys, the offense was wearing white jerseys. His red was a little bit different.
Who's red?
Taylor's was. Blanton/Taylor. Like, his red was just a little bit different than everybody else's. Like, it looked like, I don't know, like it looked like they just plucked his off a pile somewhere rather than actually made it for him.
I don't know what you're talking about. Are you trying to say that, his jersey was older than the rest or newer than the rest?
It looks like they might have actually picked it up, off the rack at Goodwill because they needed an extra jersey for somebody who just joined the team.
I didn't notice that at all.
And that it was some fake knockoff out of China somewhere.
Huh?
That's what it looked like to me. I could be way wrong. I'm just saying that's what it looked like.
Okay. Yeah, I did not notice that, so I cannot confirm or deny.
Thrilling news for our listeners here.
This off-color Darius Taylor jersey, the infamous off-color Darius Taylor jersey from now on. But, yeah, so that was really nice to see. And one thing was really clear was the defense was really communicating. There was lots of calls that were going from the linebackers to the corners to the safeties, lots of hand signals. And, I don't know what those mean, but it didn't seem like there were any sort of busted coverages. It seemed like everyone was on the same page, and it was an aggressive, 11 on 11, 1 minute, get it down and score drill, which the defense at the end, stopped them. Even though there was a pass in the end zone.
There you go. So it was a fun day. It didn't start out too hot.
No, it was nice and overcast at the beginning.
Got a little bit warm towards the end, though.
It did.
Because we're talking, so practice started at 1:30. Went till 3:30. And they actually took the full 2 hours. I was impressed. I think they knocked off at 3:23 is when they broke down the huddle.
How Chris Baker. So Chris Baker.
Slacking. 7 minutes. So that a couple of things that I noticed, kind of as we're still talking about the front end, we're standing there and the players are coming out, and they're coming through the crowd, and they're coming through multiple points of entry. So you're trying to watch to see, okay, this person's out, this person's out, this person's out, and then you turn around and all of a sudden, oh, Jameis got out somehow.
Yeah, hey, where did
he come from? Right. Oh, there's Adam Humphries. Okay, wait. Well, where did he come from? So it was kind of interesting. But just before they started practice, and I tweeted this out, they had all of the offensive linemen line up along one of the sidelines at each of the 5-yard hashes, and each one of them had a ball, and they were all hiking the ball to somebody behind them.
Well, not all of them, but every person they had, they're cross-training at center.
Yeah.
Beninock, I definitely know Beninock wasn't doing it because he's one of the last people out there. Yeah. But, yeah.
But it looked like there was about 6 or 7 of these guys out there doing that.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
So for all that we talked about with Ali Marpet and Ryan Jensen now, and obviously Ryan Jensen is our starting center.
Yeah.
Period. Unless he gets hurt, he's it going forward. It was just interesting to note that and they were all doing it, simultaneously.
Yeah.
Snapping the ball.
Yeah, all from the shotgun.
So, I'm trying to come up with some weird, crazy theory that we can spin this into something bigger than it needs to be. But
they're trying to find a place for Cole Gardner.
So, Cole Gardner, let's talk about your favorite guy, Ren.
Cole Gardner.
Starting today at the left tackle position. That's right, not right tackle, left tackle. Donovan Smith did not practice today. He was out there, had a helmet, did not practice, did not line up, or at least as far as I could tell, was not lining up.
I didn't notice that, but I believe you.
Yes. So I talked to Trevor. By the way, kind of one of the fun things of getting to be there in a day like today that's similar to training camp, but almost more heightened is we kind of got to bump into a lot of people today.
Yeah, the people that we care about bumping into.
Right. I mean, yes, that wouldn't actually get us thrown out of, practice for. But I got to bump into our friend Trevor from PewterReport.com, and he had mentioned to me that Donovan had been injured for the last
3 years.
Or a couple of days.
Okay.
So let's go with that.
I must have misunderstood.
So he said that, and I was like, oh, that's going to make Ren happy. And I was watching him through rest practice, and it was Cole Garner the whole time. So it didn't impress much. I got to be honest. But then on the right side, the right tackle was being manned by not your man, anyone's man, Leonard Wester.
Yes.
In place of DeMar Dotson. And he was going against JPP.
No.
No. Cole Garner was going against I don't know. One of those two.
Vinny Curry.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Either way.
Doesn't matter the
Vinny
story.
Curry, JPP, take your pick going against Leonard Wester or Cole Garner.
Correct.
Doesn't quite seem fair.
Yeah, but, they don't have pads on, and, but the defensive linemen were doing some rip moves every once in a while. I mean, they're going at it. I mean, they're going at it about as hard as you can without pads or helmets. Well, I got to have helmets on, but without pads on. Talking about, I don't know if there's a no contactor rule in the NFL about this or not, but, obviously there's no tacking to the ground. It's all two-hand touches. But, in the trenches, they were getting hands on each other and trying to do rip moves and spin moves and, work on their craft. So you could see some things, especially some of the linemen's, offensive and defensive linemen's, strength, I think was really apparent today because there's not much else you can do. It's like get the hands on the guy in front of you and try to move him if you're offense, and the defense, like I said, we're doing a lot of rips and spins and trying to get away. But
I will tell you one thing I saw, and this was towards the end of practice today. And again, I will preface this by saying I know this is underwear football. I know that they're not going full-on hitting. But there did seem to be a little something to this. Yeah, Ryan Jensen full-on manhandled, owned Vita Vea on one play. I didn't see every other play because they were rotating their guys in and out.
Right.
So, but this one play, Ryan Jensen just... Vita Vea looked like a 6-year-old kid out there next to Ryan Jensen being tossed around.
Yeah, they're strong dudes, man. They're strong guys. I watched Vea and Kappa go at it a couple times, while they were doing 11-on-11 drills. So they did a bunch of different 11-on-11 drills. They did they started with the 1 minute, but then they had some more, let's call the play, fake like we're coming out of the huddle, and traditional, I guess you would say, 4-quarter football. Could see guys, like I said, you could see guys going at it. What I did find interesting was that Gerald McCoy sort of, I guess the last third of the practice, he wasn't practicing anymore. He was still out there.
I was wondering, I started looking for him because I actually didn't see Gerald at all today. I didn't see him milling around. I didn't see him standing around. I didn't see him come out.
I didn't see him come out either.
I didn't see him play. But I assumed he was there.
Oh, he was in there.
And when by the time I started looking for him, I just didn't see him at all.
Yeah, giving poor Caleb Benenoch fits sometimes. But what I found interesting was that Vita Vea was the next guy in. Bo Allen was in there, but it wasn't Unrein or any other DTs. They didn't say, okay, this is our base D. McCoy's out. Okay, well, we're gonna knock Golston inside over Vea. So. As far it looks like right now, at least, that Vita Vea is possibly number 3 DT.
Which would make sense
in the base defense behind McCoy and Bo Allen.
Which would make sense because I think I mentioned to you earlier today. I've seen several articles out there, some by fan sites, some by national media, talking about the defensive line here in Tampa. And people keep talking about the defensive line, and they talk about JPP, and then they talk about Vin Curry, and then they talk about Gerald McCoy. And then the next name they talk about is Vita Vea.
Right.
And I'm going, no, Vita's probably not starting.
Oh, they're talking about him as a starter?
Yeah, they're talking about him as a starter. That's our starting defensive line is JPP, Gerald McCoy, Vita Vea, than Curry.
Yeah.
And that's not how that's going to go.
No.
Like, and that is even more informed by what we saw today.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, like I said, with the 1 minute offense, it was Golson because Brown was obviously, as we know, was more known as a run stopper.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they went to the traditional, not going against a hurry up offense, it was
wait a minute. And Golston's like a sack master?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think they like his length and speed and athleticism on the inside for just,
Sure.
straight rushing over Bo Allen, which is, we'll see. It's Golston was having, was starting to build a nice career.
Yeah.
Last year was such a, but all the defensive linemen took a step back last year. And, he just kind of disappeared. And then with his contract this year and, why are we paying him $6 million? We need to sign these people, and which is not a good narrative in my opinion, and I've said many times that, well, next year, guess what? He gets paid $3 million, and the year after that he gets paid $4 million, and the year after that he gets paid $5 million. So you sort of bite the bullet now, and, we'll see where we're at with him. So I'm looking for a bounce back year for Golston.
And one of the things that's changed for Golston, the reports is that last year he says that he got too big.
I think that was, if I had to guess, I think it was a Mike Smith order. They all put on weight last year.
Yeah.
And he McDonald went up to 30.
Yeah.
McCoy went up to 30, went up to 300.
Yeah.
McDonald went to 300. They drafted Villa. They brought in Chris Baker. They started bringing
They
in...
didn't draft Villa last year.
What did I say?
You said they drafted Villa.
Stevie Tuigolovatu.
Stevie T, yeah.
Sorry.
They got bigger up the middle, right? That was the theme.
Yeah, exactly.
But it didn't. It obviously didn't work for us last year.
No.
Seeing... we noted quite a few people, or at least I did, as they were coming out of saying, man, he looks like he's put on some weight this year. He looks like he's bulked up a little bit. Peyton Barber, I think, is the one that immediately sticks out in my head that I said that about. But
Noah Spence.
No. See, I didn't see Noah Spence today either.
He was the only guy that had the only guy showing off the guns.
Yeah, there you go.
He had his sleeves tucked in.
To be fair, and I know we've not said this yet, I was talking to a bunch of people today, so
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Brent was kissing babies and pressing hands today. I was out doing getting videos and sending out tweets today. It was pretty much the way, and it just worked out that way organically. Brent's much more affable than I am anyway.
So with that, just to say, I miss seeing Noah Spencer, and I'm a little sad about because I was looking forward to seeing him out there. But Will Golston, though, I did note in watching him, I did feel like he looked. I don't want to say smaller or more svelte, but I felt like he looked a little bit more agile, looked a little bit more comfortable in his own skin. Let's say it that way. Than from what I remember seeing him.
Looked like
year.
He was playing at his fighting weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was more natural.
Yeah. So that was good to see. What else jumped out to you today in watching, aside from the guy standing on top of One Buc Place that you were trying to snipe?
It's something people have talked about a little bit, and I felt it too, is especially starting off that 1 minute drill, it just seemed like they're sort of ramped up like a half a gear or a full gear as far as pace of practice, intensity, talking. I don't know if it's because the music wasn't even nearly as loud as it was last year.
I was going to say that. Now, I don't know if it's just because it was further away, but I really think it was not that loud.
No, it wasn't. I was standing on the sidelines, so if I was like an opposing player or, I was in Ray J, I was standing in the same place, opposing player that is not playing or a Buccaneer that's not playing. That's how close I was to the field. And I could hear their calls. I could hear the snap count. I could hear the defensive talking to each other.
Right.
I could hear the audibles. I could hear all that. Last year at the training camp, with the 30 days I went, I heard none of that because it was so loud.
Right.
It was so loud with that music. And I get the reason why, but it definitely made it for a more enjoyable experience for me. But, yeah, the speakers were further away. But, yeah, so that was something that I sort of noticed. And their new, 8K super duper.
Those were kind of fun to see.
I tweeted out a video of that. Those were pretty cool. Gotcha. So they had there's 3 of them. They talked about how the Buccaneers had, hey, look at this new 8K thing, and prevents people from having to go up in the cherry pickers and film. So basically, it's just 2 video monitors, and they just send a camera up on a big pole. But they got 3 of them, and one of them's got 2 cameras on it. So they got 4 cameras. They got 4 eyes in the sky, plus the guy on the ridge with the stationary cameras up there. So I took a short video, tweeted that out. It was cool to see sort of the different angle of like the play that was happening just like 20 feet to my left, and then you could watch on the video monitor, and the angle was so different. It looked like it wasn't necessarily all 22. It looked a lot like sort of a broadcast angle from where I was. I'm sure the ones on the other side definitely looks more like an all 22.
Right. I think something in bringing this up, and I know this isn't so much football related, but it was really impressive to me, and I got to feel this year more than I did coming to training camp last year, just how many people they have involved with practice. Because like with each one of those cameras, you had a camera operator at some point.
There's 2 people per cart.
Right.
Yeah.
And then just the other people that were hanging around, like people making practice happen, and people that were filming, because they're getting ready to take all this footage and head back inside and study it and see what they did.
Right.
And they're going to see the interception that Jameis may or may not have actually thrown. They're going to see Ryan Griffin, who may or may not have just walked into the end zone. They're going to see VH3, who almost had an interception at one point. And I think he did have an interception, although it was more of a
it was a tip ball.
It was a tip ball from Bobo Wilson, I think it was.
Yeah.
So, they're going to see all those things as they get ready to go back in. But just the you talk about the energy that's on the field, and I could be way reading into this, and you'll probably say I am. I also felt a different energy, like from the staff, almost like from the organization as a whole. It seemed this year, and even from the couple of people from the organization that we got to talk to today.
All right, they were friendly today, weren't they?
They were, and there just seems to be a different energy, just a different vibe around the building, I guess to say. I don't know. Did you pick up on that at all, or?
I will say that I thought it was a good energy from the people around the building. And by around the building, we mean people that work in the building, not just, we're not talking about the guy out there in shorts and the red shirt and, and dragging dummies around and driving the tractor. We mean like people that work in sales or, sort of, the people that make the organization go on so many different levels. A lot of those people are out there, and they have their name tags on and stuff. I can't really remember what it was last year for them. Is it just like a buzz at the start of the new year, and it's the first time like actually fans have been there all year?
Right.
I don't know if they come out for OTAs, but this is the first time there was a crowd at One Buc Place as far as the practice went. Obviously the media's there, but that's like 15 people.
Right.
There's how many people you say were there
today? Would say 200, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe that might be a little high.
I think it's a little low.
You think it's a little low?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm a horrible estimator, just so you know.
Okay, should open with that. I'm going with about 200, I think.
Because for
maybe
each one of these
less.
podcasts, estimating we've got about 16,000 people who download.
Yeah, that's roughly.
I tend to estimate low, so.
Yeah, low balling us there. Yeah, I would say probably closer to 3, maybe 400, but that'd top it up. You don't know how to estimate a crowd. Just saying.
Speaking of crowd, what did you think about the crowd's energy today there at One Buc Place?
It was fine. I mean, it
was very low key.
It's always low key. It's
especially with this group of people, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you put it? What's a nice way to put it without hurting anybody's feelings? That sort of when the money's in the building, it's not nearly as much fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because these were definitely the vast majority of them. These were.
Yeah, I had the shittiest car in the parking lot by far. Like it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And I drive a Rolls Royce. Fake news. No.
No.
True.
However,
about my car.
I have postulated that your car might in reality be the Transformer Bumblebee.
It's the right color. It's a little small, but it is definitely the right color. So, yeah, it was very low key. The only time I think he really got a rise out of the crowd was when Mike Evans dunked on Justin Evans.
That was cool. Take us through that. That was a cool play.
Okay. They're running, 11s on 11s, but they did a lot today. And Jameis throws a ball to Godwin, who looks great, by the way. During that 1 minute drill, he had 2 catches against Grimes, and one was Grimes was sort of spun around the wrong way. But Godwin looks really good.
And those were like
reports.
contested catches, too.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just Grimes was supposed to be covering and he got away from him. Like, it was a contested catch, and Chris Godwin still came down with it.
Yeah. Out-battled him for the ball. So Jameis hooks up with Godwin again. And this time it's a touchdown. He sort of gets down and rolls around. And if you remember last year, Deshaun Jackson would kind of throw an alley-oop and Mike Evans would dunk it over the goalpost, the crossbar. And I don't know if they talked about it, but they sure did, or they made eye contact. Just one of those things. But as soon as Godwin popped up, he threw the ball up, and here comes Evans coming across, and I guess Justin Evans, the safety for the Buccaneers, did not like that.
Right.
So he goes up for the block.
Right.
And,
so now we're Evans on Evans.
Evans on Evans, yeah, like at the rim. But Mike Evans gets the ball, and, I mean, he wouldn't have made the dunk, but all he has to do is kind of throw it over the crossbar.
Right.
He gets it over there, and that got a woo out of the crowd, as in Mike Evans dunked on somebody. But, yeah, it was cool to see. It was fun.
Meanwhile, we're all like, don't break a knee. Don't break a knee.
Yeah, right? Like when Levante David's fielding punts. Levante David tears his ACL fielding punts in minicamp. But, so that was cool. I actually was lucky enough to be one of, like, the handful of plays I was actually recording. And so tweeted that out. But overall, it was a fun day. Like I said, everyone was very polite. They had, bottles of water for us for free, and, all the water you could drink, all the icy pops you could handle. And, who else did, like I said, as I was walking around doing videos, you were, glad handing and kissing babies and, Yeah, well, doing your magic. Who else did you bump into?
Well, yeah, I got to, I mentioned Trevor from over at pewterreport.com. Got to talk to him for quite a bit, and I got a fun little video of him with the new haircut, talking about that.
Or lack thereof.
So you guys can check that out. We put that out on the PewterCast Twitter feed. Exclusive interview with Tampa Bay Trey.
What are your plans or future for your hair?
Yes. And so let's see. We talked to him. Like I said, we talked to some people from the Buccaneers. Cool stuff happening with them. Hey, by the way, breaking news, Ren. While I will be back in Jacksonville tomorrow during the second day of minicamp, you will officially be at minicamp for day 2. So we'll be looking for another podcast tomorrow to hear from you about how day camp about how it goes tomorrow. That is your price to pay.
I have homework. Price to pay. Price to pay for having to drive 120 miles to minicamp. Round trip. None of that's true. It's just across the bridge. And I'm happy to do it. Yeah, you were talking. Should we give a shout out? What's his name?
Yeah, shout out to our man Alan. With the Buccaneers. He's a cool guy.
What's his last name?
I don't know if I should put that out there.
Okay.
I don't necessarily want to put that out there and have everybody hitting him up for stuff, So
true.
it is, it's a contact he and I have made and gotten to discuss. But we talked to him.
We told you to contact him when we got there, right?
Yeah. He and I have been talking for a while, trying to figure out some stuff that
for the PewterCast in the future
is nowhere near ready to talk about to the public yet. So anyway,
stay tuned.
Yeah, who knows what may happen.
Things are in motion,
right? But we also got to talk to Scott Smith.
Yeah, I missed that.
Buccaneers.com.
I love talking to him. I miss it though.
Cool guy, really cool guy. It's the first time he and I have ever actually got to have like a conversation.
Oh, really?
But we are set up. He is going to be on a future episode of the PewterCast. We got that all set up, and as we enter this long, dark night of football, I'm looking forward to that interview. Actually,
yeah.
And got a little bit of news out of him that I feel like somebody else told me that this was public. Or at least that they have talked about it.
Well, he hinted at it on his Miller Lite Insider Live.
Yeah.
Hickey.
Yeah. So the hint being what you heard this? I apparently didn't hear this.
Oh, that. Actually, you know what? I think it was. I apologize. It was Locked On Bucks.
Oh, okay.
When he was on with Locked On Bucks, it was not the Miller
Shout out
Lite.
to James and David, our friends over there.
Yep, James Yarko and David Harrison.
David Yarko, James Harrison. No.
Oh, did I get it wrong? Did what? Huh? That he was thinking about and starting a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I know they call that
the Tampa Bay official podcast.
Yeah, they call that Miller Lite thing with the video that they call it their podcast, but you know,
basically it's their radio show / midweek something or other that they rip the audio from and throw it up there, and that's it. That's the entirety of it. And
so apparently, the Buccaneers as an organization sort of got hip to this podcast game,
right?
And Scott Smith and
his name is Jeff Ryan
Jensen.
No. Ryan Jensen's our new center.
Okay, Jeff Jensen.
Jeff Ryan, which longtime Tampa Bay residents may recognize because he used to be on the radio.
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
So they will be
starting their own official.
At least I don't want to say that this is an official announcement. Let's just say that was the discussion, and it looks like things are headed that way.
Correct.
I
like that. So if either of you two hear this and are mad at us,
it's allegedly.
It's Brent's fault.
You can contact me at rendaxt@ThePewterCast.com. Send all complaints there.
Fair enough. So, what did you guys? Because I missed that whole conversation with you and Scott. I mean,
a lot of it was setting him up to be on the show,
right?
In the future, and then just a little bit of just kind of shooting the breeze and getting to know the guy a little bit on a personal level, Mm-hmm. So there was that, and then we got to talk to Jeff Ryan, who we got to set him up. Looks like we were trying to get him as a future guest,
right?
Because if he's going to be a guy who's new to this podcasting realm, we should maybe meet him.
Yeah,
and we'll get to go with that. So I talked to them. We also got to talk to Steve Isbitz of JoeBucksFan.com fame,
right?
And the Ira Kaufman podcast and the Morning Joe podcast. Breaking news: Steve Isbitz is a religious listener to 1 in 4 episodes of the PewterCast.
Every 1 in 4, religiously, every 1 in 4.
No, it's the first. Okay, truth be told, it's not the first time he and I have ever had a conversation.
Okay. It's
the first time he ever recognized me in having a conversation. Because I went up to him and I said, "Hey, you're Steve Isbitz," and he kind of looks at me funny and he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Hey, I'm Brent with the PewterCast." He said, "Oh yeah, I thought I recognized the voice." And I went, "Really? You recognize my voice?
Really?
Awesome." But he and I
Would you like my autograph?
But he and I got to have a little bit of just a conversation about, honestly, podcasting in the Bucs ecosphere a little bit, and no, there's we are not joining the Joe Bucs Fan Network of podcasts. Who's just two what's the word two people who do somewhat similar things.
Yeah, talking shop.
Yeah, just talking shop. But we got to talk to him. And listen, I got to tell you, Steve's a good guy to talk to.
Yeah,
he really is.
He's free with the information.
Yeah, real good guy to talk to. He's real supportive of the Buccaneers podcasting fan generated media platform. Yeah, big supporter of it. Yeah. And one of the and I kind of got to ask him my hallmark question of that I ask with all media members. Mm-hmm. And if you've been following the show for any amount of time, you may recognize that just about any time we have a new member of the media as a guest on the show, there is one question that will be asked almost 100% of the time.
What's your shoe size?
Are you a fan of the Buccaneers?
Close.
And to a T, what we normally hear, Ren, is, this job takes it out of you. No, I'm not a fan of the team,
right.
Or you're not really allowed to be a fan of the team. You've got to be unbiased. You got to be neutral. But what happens is you get to know the players and you become a fan of the players.
Right.
And so no, we're not really a fan of the team.
Right.
And,
I could care less about the Buccaneers as an organization.
Right.
But I have lots of good relationships and people I would consider friends that I've covered that have been Buccaneers.
Right. So that's usually what you hear. And while, and if that's their thing, that's fine. I kind of call BS on that a little bit. I think it's why I keep coming back to that question, because I find it, for the most part. Now, there may be some people that really don't care about the team. This is their job, and this is what they do.
Right.
That may be truth. But on some level, for most of these guys, there's guys.
Well, you can hear it. You can hear it in their voice. Like they all have podcasts now, so you can hear it when things are going well. They're happy, or things that they see that they like. They're a little more upbeat, and then you can sort of hear the disappointment in their voice when things aren't going well, or things that they see that they don't like. It's kind of like they're like a little frustrated. It's like but but as long as you kind of stick to the word saying the Bucks and that instead of like we or us,
right?
It's just sort of. That I think that's the line. As long as you don't say we, us, then the Bucks. But for sure. Even like you said, we asked a lot of people about this, and you're right, they all ape that same answer. Yeah. But their attitude and tone and mood when talking about the Buccaneers when they're winning versus when they're losing. It's night and day.
It's remarkably like a fan's is. It really is. So it's sort of just become like a game for me to do that.
Find the one who's going to tell me the truth.
Right. So today, talking to Steve Vitzbitz, I said, Steve, I'm going to ask you a question. I ask all the media guys who've never had a chance to talk to you or ask you this. You guys have a website called JoeBucksFan.com. Mm-hmm. Are you really fans of the team?
Right.
And he told me unequivocally. In no bones about it, yes, I am.
11. Oh. Yes.
I think he's more of 9.5, just to be fair. He's not that big of a man.
No, he's not. None of those guys are really.
I'm going to let that one go. So,
but I'm bummed somewhere.
Anyway, but, he just said unequivocally, yes, he is a fan of the team, and they are fans first. And, honestly, I have a lot of respect for that, to just come out and say, yes, I'm a fan of the team. And they may be media members. They may have credentialed access. And, you may or may not disagree with their takes on a lot of things. You may or may not like the style of website that they put out there. I do know that it is one of the most, if not the most popular
I think it's
Buccaneers website out there.
It has to get the most hits.
By the numbers. Yeah.
For the content they put out every day.
Yeah. I mean, and you can look those numbers up and see,
it's no secret.
It's not and they have a certain style and an energy and a vibe that they do, and that's fine, and that's them, and whether you like them or not, I have just a crap ton of respect for someone who can just say that. And, if the other guys really aren't fans of the team, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. As a person who is quote-unquote media or fringe media or whatever you want to call it, who is also a fan of the team, who does not like the idea of I don't understand the idea of having to be unbiased. I just don't get it. I can see where that might have come from in another situation.
Yeah, those days are over.
But
social
I don't.
Media.
Yeah, I don't see that. I just don't get it. And to be fair, I'm not a journalist person, so whatever. But
at least not as far as sports is concerned.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, getting to talk to him, like I said, real nice guy, and he sat there and didn't pressure us to move on and go do anything else. In fact, I kind of had to say, all right, I'm going to let you get back to what you're doing. So
leave me alone, Isbitz. Jeez.
The one thing I did not ask Steve Isbitz about the Ren.
Yeah.
Where's your $20?
Yeah, I didn't either. But I was feeling guilty from, the last time, I talked about Joe Bucks fan.
Oh.
I may or may not have said something. Because I saw you over there talking to him.
Right.
And I was like, oh, no. I'm like, I wonder if I got back to him what I said about DeKemper.
It depends on which one of those 4 episodes here.
Yeah, exactly. And then I found out, I'm like, I might be, so let's go over there. Like, I won't say anything about the $20. Like, tomorrow I will, though. Just got to feel out the situation. And then when we're talking to him and he's like, yeah, I listen. And it's like, oh, no.
You're right.
It's like, oh, my God, he listens. But, it wasn't brought up. So tit for tat there. Don't bring up my attacking a member of Joe Buck's fan.
To be fair,
verbally
you issued a full apology on the very next episode.
I did.
To be fair, and hey, cool. Another thing that you didn't actually get to know, Ren, and I don't know if our listeners are going to care about this at all. I kind of found it funny though. You may or may not know that I'm a little bit of a sound guy.
I've heard that.
It's kind of my thing, the gear and the tech and the
as he
all of
prompts
this.
me how to hold the microphone for this podcast for the fifth time.
And you've got like a fuzzy little thing on top of the microphone that you're making out with right now.
Pop filter.
And so listening, and actually what started my conversation with Steve was they had released an episode where they had an exclusive interview with Jameis Winston. Mm-hmm. And I went over and said, hey, really, good job getting Jameis.
Right, yeah, good get.
That's and it was a good episode, getting to listen to him. I thought, Steve or Ira, one of those two opened with just a hard question, opened with it.
What's your shoe size?
You went 26-1 in college. You're 12 and 48 right now.
Yeah, you're 18 and 28.
How come how are you still not sucking? Or whatever he said. But
still not sucking. Well, actually,
so we started with that, but here's the thing. Ira, and it's just part of how Ira talks, was really harsh on the microphone. And so eventually at some point I said, hey, can I give you just a little bit of feedback on this part of the podcast? Because with Ira, and it's just how he talks, and some people really do this, it was like every P and T that hurt his head for the popcorn, it just, I
think you're right. The listeners aren't going to care about.
They're not going to care about this. No, but here's what they're going to care about. As I said, if you get this little $2 foamy thing and stick it on the end of his microphone, it'll fix all of that. And he's like, oh yeah, actually I have that. Actually, I gave him a headset microphone so that he can actually keep it with him. It just Ira talks that hard, and I was like, oh, now I feel like stupid because you already do that.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, water's wet. Thanks, Brent.
Awesome. So I'm going to crawl back into my hole now. Let's talk about other podcasting stuff there, Steve. Anyway, so we got to talk to Steve Isbitz, we got to Tampa Bay Trey about his haircut.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Scott Smith, talked to a couple guys with Buccaneers. I think that was about it.
Yeah, that was about
Honestly,
it. I mean, it was
so.
like a normal practice. If you kind of want to know how practice goes and, follow at ThePewterCast on Twitter or at RenDax, REN_DAXT. I tweeted out some videos. Brent tweeted out some stuff for today. And you can sort of get a visual of what happened today. But a lot of what happens in practice, and if you've never been to one, you probably don't know this, is just individual, it's not team drills, into position groups.
Yeah.
They'll start out.
It's practice.
Yeah, they'll start off in the individual, then they'll blow the whistle, and they all stretch, and then they start out with, like I said, the 1 minute offense versus defense, and then they break off and they go and do positional things.
Right.
Then they'll come back and maybe do another 11 on 11, and then they'll maybe tone it down a notch and still do 11 on 11, but put sort of the second string defense against the first string offense, but their helmets are off. And they're basically going a quarter speed.
Right.
And they'll do that for 10 minutes.
Right.
So, you go, well, 2 hours of practice, what do you see? Really, the only thing to sort of see is when they're going 11 on 11. Mm-hmm. That's when you can see who's in there, who's up against who's running with the ones, who's running with the twos, how Jameis's deep ball. Who's the third down back? Is Barber ahead of Jones right now as far as the ones go? All things like that. That's when you get to see it. So for that, the length of that is probably only a half hour, absolute most.
Right.
In the other hour and a half, they're just.
And that's why you're walking around talking to people.
And that's why you're walking around talking to people. So
one thing to note: 2 players I do want to talk about.
Okay.
2 players I want to talk about. Vernon Hargreaves.
Right.
Vernon Hargreaves playing the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he had any reps on the outside today. If he did, I just didn't see it.
When they were doing base, I tweeted that out as well. When they were doing base and, Bo Allen got in there and Golson was out when it was okay, this is it. When they were running an actual 4-3, Vernon was outside and with Grimes.
Which is what Mike Smith has told us.
Right.
Vernon's our starting outside guy, but when we move to nickel, they're going to slide him up into nickel.
Right.
And they'll bring in, at least as of right now, it's Davis.
Correct.
is who they bring in. And then when they go back to base, Davis will come out and Hargraves will go back to outside.
Right.
Which I think is a real interesting thing to do, by the way. Like, instead of just having dedicated outside corners and then you bring in your slot guy whenever you're playing those reps, like you're moving your people, shuffling them around a little bit. I'll be interested to see how that continues, or if that continues, through camp, through the season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, all Buck fans are excited about, Carlton Davis III, and you should be. He's the biggest corner we have. He plays press man. He's physical. He uses the sideline as another defender. He seems to be the guy that we hope, we were getting with Hargraves.
Sure.
So, and, geez, by week 8, it could be Hargraves just plays nickel, and Carlton Davis starting outside.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about MJ Stewart.
But Ren, you don't draft a nickel guy in the first. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
But you don't.
Don't. But if that's the way it shakes out, you don't get rid of the guy.
Yeah, and if he's the best nickel on your team, then he's the best nickel on your team.
There you go. There you go. What are you going to do? Waste another draft pick to draft another nickel just because that guy happened to come in the first round?
Okay.
No, you're not going to do that.
He wasn't the guy you thought he was, but now he's on the team and he's contributing.
So MJ Stewart, what did we see out of him today?
I didn't see anything from him.
I didn't see anything out of him.
I'm not really sure his number, to be honest, and they didn't give us. Like at training camp, they give you a number card.
And during every game, at least at the club level, you get roster cards as you go into the building.
roster cards.
Yeah.
And I saw him come out. When everyone was piling out at different times out on the field. That's sort of the last thing because honestly, I was trying to really. Okay, guys, this is what I was doing. When the ones were against the ones offense defense, that's when I was looking to see who was where and taking videos. When the twos came out, I went and got an icy pop in water because it was hot. Like that's, so I sort of quit paying attention because I knew I'm going to see, like I said, 23, 25 days of this coming up in training camp.
For the record, MJ Stewart's number is 36.
I would have guessed 33. Is that Davis's number?
33 is Davis, yeah. Yep, 33 is Davis. So that's the one player I want to talk about, VH3. The other one I want to talk about just because, and I don't want to say it's a question mark, but our kicker, our brand new kicker, Catanzaro. Calzone. He, I was talking to Scott Smith, and we were watching him a little bit over on Field 3.
Right.
Which during training camp would be what we would know as Field 1.
Correct.
Actually,
yeah.
They flip-flopped where they had us this year. But he was over there practicing on the skinny post, and Scott said several times, I think he's trying to purposely hit the goalpost. I think Catanzaro's over there because
using it as a target.
Yeah, and what he said was, he's like, it's amazing what kickers will do to entertain themselves while everybody else is actually practicing.
That's a good point.
So, but he comes over, and they start doing their drills, and the first kick he has nails the upright. And then he drains the other 4. And he had 5 kicks.
Right.
And then the other guy came in and
I think he hit all
of his.
Yeah.
So, but, he's a camp leg. Catanzaro is going to be our guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we signed him to some, I don't want to say it's a huge contract, but it's a significant contract for more than 1 year.
The DEF CON on the kicker from last year's training camp to this year's is great. No one really cares anymore.
Right.
It's like, who's a kicker? Catanzaro.
And that's what I was saying. I can remember last year that, okay, it's Nick Folk and it's Roberto Aguayo. Everybody holds their breath and watches to see what's going to happen.
2 man enter, 1 man leaves.
This one, it was not like that. People barely watched what was happening with the kicker.
Yeah, which was the only other time sort of got a rise with the crowd when they kept banging him off the windows of One Buc.
Right.
They're putting it over the nets. They're kicking him. They're kicking towards the building, and obviously when they're like extra points or even inside of that, they were kicking them over the nets and kept banging them off the glass. And that poor girl she was one of the people.
It was right over where the eye in the sky thing was.
Yeah, the 8K video thing. Yeah. And I for 4 or 5 kicks in a row, I swear I thought she was going to get I thought I was going for a dome.
There was one that actually hit her rig.
Yeah.
The rest of them kind of ricocheted out and away from her, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So, I bring that up just to kind of say, hey, good news on the kicker front. Looks like we don't really have to worry. He's there.
He showed up.
He's there. So, all right. Well, I think that's all that I have that kind of runs to the top. One other thing I noticed. Apparently, these guys get into some antics when they're here in practice. tweeted out a photo of Brent Grimes basically doing headstand push-ups.
Yeah, that guy never stops.
Yeah.
I remember that last year.
Yeah.
Like, when he was off the field, he was, like, running around the dummies and, like, and having some dude, like, has much pulled organization as I do, throwing balls as he's sort of, like, peeking around dummy. He's always moving. After he was doing handstand push-ups, I saw him, and he had, like, a tackling dummy, and he was, like pressing it over his head. He's just always moving. And that's just, at first I was like, wow, what work ethic? And then I realized, like, no, he's hyperactive. But I'm sure but as long as he channels that into his work. Yeah. Remember in Jacksonville when it was right after, just to catch everybody up, when the Bucs went up to scrimmage Jacksonville during the week before their preseason game, it was right. Brent had just split his leg open. You saw it in Hard Knocks, and so he was out for a little while. But he was on the field, and he was juggling the football like a soccer ball for like 2.5 straight hours.
Right.
Standing next to Mike Smith. Like,
on his gashed up leg.
On his gashed up leg. Yeah, so, yeah, that's when I sort of realized, like, okay, this cat he just doesn't sit still.
Yeah. Apparently, who is it? Is it Ryan Smith? No, Josh Robinson, before every game and before every practice, does a big old backflip.
I did not know that.
And you're sitting there going, like, hey, I know you're freakishly athletic.
Let's go back to pop filters.
Please don't break your neck.
Oh, Josh Robinson?
Yeah.
Well, because I'd feel bad for him. But besides that, I even have a hard time making the team. I know he's special teams captain and is a great gunner, but I mean,
there's a lot of people in that. Yeah.
There's a lot of, now with drafting 2 corners. There's a lot of people in that DB's room, and he doesn't play DB. He plays special teams.
It's
That's
true.
It.
It's true. But remember, what Cutter tells us all the time is if you're not a listed starter on the roster, you better play special teams.
Yeah.
And if you can't play special teams, then you could be the 3rd best defensive back on the team.
But he's not. That's what I'm saying.
I understand.
He's so far down the list as far as, like, when he gets into the game.
Right.
All he's ever going to do with this team
is special teams.
Teams.
But if that 3rd defensive back can't play special teams, don't be surprised when they keep Robinson over that 3rd or the 4th defense, like whatever it is.
6.
Okay. But you see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I got you.
If that guy can't play special teams, or at least play him better than Josh Robinson, they'll keep Robinson.
Yeah.
Even though he may not be the best DB on the team or the top 6 DBs on the team, he could still wind up in there just because the other guys don't play special teams or play them as well.
I agree with you, but I think this year it's like
it's
I
hard.
said, yeah, this is going to be his hardest year for him to make the team.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about that.
We did. We had an episode where we kind of went through the roster and said who are the guys on the bubble that we need to. It was an episode called Roster Locks and Roster Knots, and you guys go check that out. We might actually revisit some of those.
Roster Knots.
Because I think that's to me that's the question mark is, Charles Sims and Jacquizz Rodgers, are they both going to make this team this year?
No.
Which one's out, or are both out, in light of some of these new guys that we have?
Who's out? I would probably have to say Quiz.
I'd say Quiz is out before Sims,
but I'd have to look at the contracts.
Right, Quiz is more expensive than Sims this year.
Yeah, but this year's already in the but this year's already in the books.
Right.
You have to sort of like look forward because I know they just signed. I'm pretty sure Sims is just a 1-year deal.
Yeah, 1-year deal for near league minimum.
Right, and then
Quiz is due like 1.5 this year.
Right, but I don't know when his deal ends.
This year.
Okay.
So for both of them, this is their last year.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
It may not be about saving the roster. The
I think
money.
that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm gonna watch that kid out of Duke.
Yeah. Because they like these guys. And
Sean Wilson.
Yeah, and it's something that Trevor talks to me about a little bit today. I think they mentioned it on their podcast, but he said, you get a guy like this Wilson kid that if they play him in preseason games and people see that he's any good, he's not going to last on practice squad. He'll get signed away to another team.
It's the Anthony O'Clair syndrome from last year.
Exactly. I mean, it's why Luke Stalker got ejected from the team earlier than what you thought he might have.
Right.
Just not because they were ready for Eau Claire to take a spot. It's just Eau Claire wasn't going to make it. Eau Claire would have. It was more of a saving Eau Claire than it was.
Right. Yes, it was protecting Eau Claire over Eau Claire being a better player than Moore.
Yes. Well, the applause that you're hearing there, Ren, as we kind of round out this show.
Because of my comment. You're welcome.
Just want to give a quick shout out to the press box on Dale Mabry, where we are recording. So if you've heard any of the background noise,
press box.
The legendary press box had some pretty good wings. Here, you guys, make sure you come check them out. I will go find the manager and make sure he gives us a check for saying that, or at least clears our tab.
Or tells us to get out.
Or tells us to pay the bill and get out.
What are those weirdos in the corner with headsets and microphones doing?
Exactly. Anyway, no, this place is pretty cool. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the wings. I thought they were great.
No, I like my wings. I just got the regular hot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're simple.
They're wings.
Nice,
they're just wings, guys.
Yeah.
A cool vibe, cool atmosphere. It's not the, corporate atmosphere that you'll get when you go to maybe some big chain restaurant. So you guys check them out, Dale Mabry Restaurant. So with that, Ren, you got any final thoughts, or we'll close out? Where can people find you on the internet?
Well, final thoughts is, I guess I got homework tonight. What am I supposed to be doing? You want me to do a pod tomorrow?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. Whew, that was close.
Not live on the air.
Not live. No. Let's talk about it now, Brent. I want this hashed out. Best way to find me is on Twitter, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, and I guess tomorrow, follow my timeline, because I'll be looking more at the second string, and then, of course, tweeting out videos, if I'm allowed.
Should be able to.
Yeah, because I know the media has to wait till after practice, but once they let all these people in... I think they lift that. Actually,
what the media said was they like it better when we as fans are there, because they're allowed to do a whole bunch of stuff that they're not normally allowed to do. And they're allowed to stay for all of practice.
And they're allowed to get off the concrete.
Yeah. And if you guys would like to contact me personally, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And you can contact us at the show, at ThePewterCast. On Twitter, you can contact us at Facebook.com/ThePewterCast. Or you can send us an email, if you're a little more long-winded than just the 280 characters that Twitter gives you, to ThePewterCast@gmail.com. Make sure you send those in. We have a show that we do where we'll read those emails. So you guys can shoot those over to us. Connect with us. With that, Ren, I guess really kind of until tomorrow, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe we'll talk about it.
And you folks out there all know if a podcast shows up in your feed or not.
There you go.
But, listen, we're in that, we're getting towards that long, dark night, and then we're round on the corner into training camp. I'm feeling the season quickly approaching, and I don't think it can get here soon enough for me.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll close the show out as always. Go Bucks.
How big is your shoe size anyway?
You never ask a man his shoe size, Ren.